SNL with Bill Hader is over, but we're just getting started here on Saturday Night Live, live on post-show recaps. And now, here are the two guys who are ready to get into what everybody is buzzing about at the wine cooler today. I'm Rob Cesternino, and here's Rich Tackenberg. Rich, how are you?
I'm good. I'm good. Happy to be back.
Yes, very, very exciting to talk about Bill Hader hosting Saturday Night Live.
And the return of Bobby Moynihan to Saturday Night Live. Was excited to see him do a cameo this week, to come back to show his face on the show. Very exciting stuff.
That was nice of Bill Hader to bring back one of his former castmates with him to be in a prominent part this week.
Exactly. They do that with the alumni show, so I was very excited about that. Yeah, a lot to talk about.
Yeah, a lot to talk about here as we are going to go through Saturday Night Live from last night. We're recording this. This is Sunday, October 12th, as we get into everything here on post-show recaps. Plus, James Keast is here as well to talk about the music of Hozier in a little bit, and we'll get into everything. But, of course, along the way, we like to hear what you guys are saying. That's why we do this live. Anything could happen, Rich. That's why we do this a live show. We could just tape it after the fact and edit it, but it would lose.
That's what makes this so fun. Anything can happen.
Anything could happen.
Is James going to love Hozier? Is he going to hate Hozier? We don't know. Anything can happen.
That's why we do this show on a tightrope, and that's why you guys are here live as well in the chat room. So shout out to everybody who's watching us live on postshowrecaps.com. We are in our normal time slot where we're going to try to do this every week after a Saturday Night Live episode, so around 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time. 4:30 p.m. Pacific. Plus, Scott St. Pierre is monitoring your tweets on Twitter. You can use our hashtag PSRecaps and get your tweets into the show, plus your comments on our YouTube channel at postshowrecaps.com/YouTube. Busy night for us here on Post Show Recaps. We're going to get into the Walking Dead Season 5 premiere later on tonight at 10:15 p.m. Eastern. Myself and Josh Wigler will have that for you as well. So, very, very exciting weekend here. And, Rich, overall, were you excited with the return of Bill Hader?
You know, overall, I felt like, as I said last week and the week before, this was the season premiere of Saturday Night Live. This was a really nice, solid start to the season. I'm going to sort of forget the other two happened and start here. And I would say there's so much to like about this episode, but I'll also note there was really nothing to love. There was no one sketch that was just out of the park. Oh my God, that was so fun. I was on the edge of my toes. We'll talk about Stefon in a little bit as a nostalgic piece, but a very solid outing, the first solid outing of SNL in this season.
Yeah, it was very, very fun. I hadn't thought about it in those terms. I think I was just happy with what we got. Although I did feel like there was a couple of questionable things that happened along the way in the show.
And I would say, Rob, nobody thinks about it the way I think about it. I have a problem. I understand. Nobody should be thinking about it this much. I don't think people at SNL think about it as much as I do. So, yes, you're correct.
Okay, well, let's get into the cold open, which I actually thought was one of the weakest points of the show. We had Bobby Moynihan reprising his Kim Jong-un character. And, Rich, this is big news. Where is Kim Jong-un?
Well, again, one of the saddest facts about all of this is that I was getting my current events from Saturday Night Live. So they needed to be very clear about the premise being set up in this because I didn't know Kim Jong-un was missing. So now I am up to speed. Thank you, SNL, for giving me all the news that I need to know for the day.
Yeah, I too have gotten my Kim Jong-un news from Saturday Night Live, who talked about him also in Weekend Update. But is he missing, or he's potentially ill and we don't know?
That you know what I know, which is also I didn't know he won a gold medal for beach volleyball. So this is the only way I'm getting my Kim Jong-un news.
If he becomes sick enough, will he then go from Kim Jong-un to Kim Jong-il?
Maybe that's the progression. I like it.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, Rich, I know this was a spotlight for Bobby Moynihan. That had to make you happy, right?
Yeah, to see Bobby, and again, I don't remember when his Originally, his Kim Jong-un impression started as him talking in sort of double talk Chinese with Nassim Pedrad or somebody doing a translation. And at some point, I think with Dennis Rodman showing up for a Weekend Update, we actually transitioned to Bobby Moynihan doing an actual character with English words. So very excited to see Bobby in such a prominent role. The biggest problem for me with this, and I bet that this is what everybody thought even without thinking about it, is no matter what was going on in the sketch, in the back of my head, I'm waiting for Bill Hader to show up. Because alumni are always in the cold open. Again, I don't make these rules. Saturday Night Live makes them. I just notice them. If you have an alumni host, you have to have him or her in the cold open. So I think it was it was the same joke over and over again. I loved Bobby's performance. I would love the energy that he brings to it, but a little bit weak and hurt a lot by the fact that I was waiting for the big Bill Hader something to kind of lift the sketch up, which we didn't get.
Yeah, and it's especially odd because we've seen so many hosts appear in the cold open over the last 12 months or so. So it was especially odd to not see a Bill Hader character in the cold open.
Yeah, exactly. I was waiting for a walk-on of some sort, even if it was towards the end. So the sketch sort of never got off its feet. I was also this is how dumb I am, and again, I was very tired last night. I actually had a moment where I went, boy, is Bobby Moynihan that much shorter than Taran Killam? And had to actually take the moment to go, no, they're all just standing on apple boxes except for him. So a weird moment there. But, good energy, not the best beginning to the show.
Any notable jokes for you from Kim Jong-un?
The only thing that I loved is in classic Bobby Moynihan style, either he starts out very quiet and then gets really big, or he goes very big, and at this end, cranberry. So I liked him drinking the juice box. Cranberry. That made me laugh.
Yeah, I did like also how he hurt his ankle dunking over Michael Jordan.
Yeah, when Space Jam was about him.
Yes,
yeah.
And he has the same haircut as Brad Pitt in the movie Fury.
Yeah. So some stuff to like, but and good energy. So at least with the cold open, even if it wasn't the best, at least it was still good energy.
Okay, and Bobby Moynihan's tap dancing?
Love it. Love the soft shoe. Love all of it. Great fun.
And most importantly, does Bobby Moynihan get the Tackenberg seal of approval on his Live from New York? It's Saturday night.
Yes, it wasn't the best Bobby Moynihan Live from New York, but it was a solid outing. So, again, great energy to be ruined by the pre-tape of Darrell Hammond. All that energy. It was like he's like the excitement sponge. That credit sequence is like it's like a calming, like an herbal tea. You get all excited about Saturday Night Live. No, don't be excited. Relax.
Is that Darrell Hammond?
It's Darrell Hammond, Vanessa Bayer. Yeah, exactly. Let's all relax. Let's kick back. It's 11:35 in the evening. Let's put on some smooth jazz and let's watch Saturday Night Live.
All right, and now let's go into Downward Facing Dog with Darrell Hammond.
Yeah. So
I actually thought it seemed a little better this week. Is that just me? Was it the same exact thing?
I think it was I think we're getting used to it, but I think that on this break before we see Jim Carrey in a few weeks, I think we'll get a re-record.
Yeah.
That's my guess.
Okay, so here comes Bill Hader for the monologue. And, Rich, even though I like the episode overall, I feel like it did not start great, and I did not love this monologue.
But again, as I say every week, name a monologue that we've loved. I mean, the Sarah Silverman one was probably, again, and so I should say, other than a stand-up comedian hosting, these monologues, I feel like they're writing the cue cards while Darrell Hammond is announcing the cast. This was so thrown together. By the way, as a total side note, didn't it seem odd to see Bill Hader in a jacket and tie? He seems so out of place in that, host outfit that it sort of threw me off to start with. But I agree. I thought in general this one was kind of tough.
I liked the part where he was talking about where he's from. I thought that the joke about that he was stupid and came from some small town like a guy in a book.
Yeah.
that was very funny. And I liked where he was talking about himself, because it was such a departure from anything he'd ever done on the show before, getting to talk about himself. But then it kind of bummed me out when Kristen Wiig showed up.
Well, so no surprise, we called it last week that we would see his star of skeleton twins in seeing her in the monologue. Nothing particularly funny here. This felt very much like let's put on a play. And as soon as he's like, "Oh, I've always wanted to sing," and Kristen Wiig shows up convincing him to sing, I literally, like, as if you had a split screen. On the one screen is Bill Hader and Kristen Wiig talking. On the second screen is we saw the punchline of this joke coming down the hallway of Studio 8H, coming under the bleachers, past Lorne, past the cute guys, through the audience.
Past Abraham Lincoln.
Until exactly a guy with a camel, and then up to the top, and then the two meet, and the screen comes back together again. So it was just sitting through the kind of last-minute dialogue to get to Bill Hader singing, which was exactly as we expected.
Why was Harvey Fierstein there? Does Harvey Fierstein just make Bill Hader and Kristen Wiig laugh, and they wrote it into the monologue, and then they were able to get him?
I don't know if there was an inside joke that Bill can only sing if he's singing as Harvey Fierstein, and so they reached out to him. I don't know. It was really tough. That was, yeah.
It just seemed like a joke that we were not privy to. Like Harvey Fierstein reference in 2014 in the monologue, of all things.
Yeah, I barely know who Harvey Fierstein is, and I'm 46 years old. I don't know how the kids watching SNL have any idea who that is.
Is it true the last thing he did was Independence Day in 1997?
I have no. I think I'm only expecting to see Harvey Fierstein if he's dressed as a woman for some musical comedy. It's the only way I know him anymore.
Yeah. I'm sure he's done things since then. I think that was the last time I saw him.
I don't know. So it was another tough start. Monologue kind of again brought the energy down for me.
Rich, I don't know anything about the movie Skeleton Twins. Is Skeleton Twins a big deal, or are we just hearing about it because it has two SNL veterans in it?
It's not a big deal. It is fairly well reviewed, and the word of mouth from people that I know have said that it's very good. It's definitely a dramedy. It's it's a chance for both Wiig and Hader to do some drama, even though there are some lighthearted moments to it. But I hear it's very good. It's definitely something that I'll at least throw in the Netflix queue from a year from now and go, what is that again? Oh yeah, I see that.
Are you hearing Oscar buzz, Rich?
I don't think it's that. I don't think it's that buzzy. No.
Okay.
Maybe right. Golden Globe buzz.
Ooh. Yeah. Okay, so we come back and we have no pre-taped after the monologue, and we come back for Herb Welch. And Rich, I feel like it's been a while since we've talked about Herb Welch, if ever on the podcast. I'm sure we must have talked about it at some point. I don't remember the last time they did it. Are you a Herb Welch fan?
I am a fan of the first 30 seconds of every Herb Welch sketch. And then we just see the same joke for the next 180 seconds to 3 minutes, 4 minutes, whatever it is. So I like the character. I like the microphone banging into the face. I like some of the vaguely racist comments. But I will say, so again, this is another, I'm going to give the sketch, it's a solid B sketch for me. It's never B plus A minus. It's always a B, but it kind of delivers on what we're asking it to deliver. And some of the lines always make me laugh. But I don't love the sketch. I will probably never love the sketch, but enough jokes in it to make me laugh.
Now, did you hear Bill Hader on Howard Stern this week?
I heard the first half of it. I didn't hear the second half.
Yeah, because I think that they should have given Howard Stern a writing credit for this week on Saturday Night Live.
Yes, I heard them talk about the puppet sketch. I was going to bring that up when we get to the puppet sketch. But, yeah, I think he's pretty heavily influenced this one.
Yeah, because Howard Stern also talked about, when you do that old reporter guy, that's so funny. And they actually talked about the genesis of this. Did you hear that part?
I did. It was a YouTube video of an actual guy, I believe.
Yeah, so I went back and I watched it, and it was Good Day New York. And the clip is actually very funny of the guy from, that, it might be, is it the guy, is he on Good Day LA now? Is it the same guy? But it's the guy with the white hair, and he's arguing with the reporter in the field, and it's pretty funny.
That's hilarious. No, I've never seen that, but that sounds pretty good. Yeah.
The reporter's name is Ollie if you search for it.
Got it.
Yeah. And they actually get into a big argument. So, all right. So Herb Welch is back. Overall, any new ground for you with Herb Welch?
No new ground at all. I mean, I did like when he's asked to interview Cecily and he just starts speaking in Spanish. That definitely made me laugh. Other than that, no new ground here.
Yeah, why is it always funny Bill Hader talking in another language?
Because he's got. I mean, that is, as you know, we knew Sid Caesar back in the day before Sid passed. It's the classic double talk that he's not saying actual Spanish, and he's not. He's very good at this sort of musicality of fake languages. I was bummed we didn't get to see Vinny Vedecci last night because I love when he does that.
Okay, so in the Herb Welch sketch, I did like a couple of the burns that he had for Taron Killam's character. He called him a mannequin and said, "I know you're smooth down there."
Yeah. I like when he started, he said, "Stick a zagnut in it, sideburns."
Yeah.
That made me laugh. And then when they're going back and he's asking why doesn't he interview him or something, and he goes, "Why didn't your wife take your last name, coward?" That made me laugh.
Yeah. So some laughs there with Herb Welch. All right.
All right.
So. All right, and Herb Welch died. Hasn't Herb Welch died before? Is that the running gag?
I mean, this is the problem with SNL. It's Mad Libs time. It's take the last Herb Welch sketch, erase some of the proper nouns, and fill in new words. So yes, it was the exact. I mean, it's him hitting the camera. We always see all of that. By the way, small thought. I thought one joke that really did not work was when at first he's hitting Pete Davidson, and then at one point he stops, and we see the hand comes in with the microphone from the other side hitting him. I thought that was going to be another SNL alumni also dressed as a Herb Welch brother or something, as they often do in these things. So that kind of just really missed from me.
Yeah, it's confusing. All right, so let's go to our next pre-tape, which was The Group Hopper. And it was sort of a parody of all of these post-apocalyptic teenager films. A big night for Pete Davidson all around, Rich.
Holy smokes! He got so much screen time. This was his coming out party.
Oh my God!
For Pete Davidson. And by the way, Kenan Thompson was barely in the show, which hasn't happened in a year. It was a really weird kind of upheaval of who showed up when, especially with an alumni hosting. You would think the featured players like Pete Davidson is going to be MIA because you've got an alumni and the alumni characters. Pete Davidson's the star of the freaking show.
Yeah.
Good for Pete.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So, what do you think about the Group Hopper? Overall, I thought overall it was very well done, but I wasn't like dying laughing from it. Like, I don't even know if I really laughed once, like audibly during the Group Hopper.
Yeah, I don't think I liked this as much as sort of the internet did. I thought it was, what it was for me? It was very clever, but I don't know how funny it was. And I think this really suffered structurally when we look at the writing of this. It was not very clear what kind of the game of the scene was. Like, what was the thing that they were primarily making fun of in doing this? And I like the idea that every one of these movies has their own language and terms and rules. But there was something about Hozier and the love story, and then Bill Hader's thrown in there. So it felt like a very unfocused, good attempt at making fun of these kinds of films. But boy, how great would it have been if they would have taken another couple of days and done a couple of more rewrites to just get it more focused. I think it would have been way better. But overall, I was definitely enjoying it the whole time.
Yeah. What about that guy that they kept cutting to, the Asian guy?
Kim Jong-un?
No, I don't know. It wasn't Bobby Moynihan as Kim Jong-un.
Right. Well, and the thing I have to admit is I did not see Maze Runner. I did not see Divergent.
Lots of buzz about those.
Yeah, so I can't speak to how. I mean, I did see Hunger Games, but other than that, I can't speak to. There might have been a lot of fun Easter eggy kind of things in there, but I didn't see. But overall, again, solid but not great. I'm giving this another B, maybe B plus for sort of the production value they brought to it.
Okay. Let's talk about something that I felt was really, really fun. And you know how I love this. Hollywood Game Night.
Yeah, just a great excuse to do a roll call of impressions. It's what SNL does really well, and it's again just another solid outing. And called by Rob Cesternino, I never thought we would see the Al Pacino impression comes back. Rob called it last week.
I feel like he likes to do it.
I love it. It's really fun to see, but I thought, how are they going to work in an Al Pacino? They never do it that much, so all really fun here. I would say oddly one of the weaker impressions for me was Kate McKinnon doing Jane Lynch. I felt like that was more of a visual impression of look at me, I'm dressed like her. I didn't feel like the impression itself had any bite to it or any cuttingness to it, so that for me brought the whole sketch down a little bit.
Rich, would you have preferred that instead of Hollywood Game Night, this was Celebrity Family Feud?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
Oh.
That would be yeah, exactly. That would have been way better for me.
Do you think Keenan was sitting there sideline like, yeah, what up with this?
Yeah, exactly. How is this not happening? I don't get it. Yeah.
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 I'm trying to think if there's any reason why it would need to be Hollywood Game Night instead. They did have a couple of funny jokes about Hollywood Game Night where they said, yes, this is an actual game.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And probably a little bit more current, the amount of people that are even know that Family Feud is on the air, if you're in the millennial demographic, is probably pretty low, where at least Celebrity Game Night, Hollywood Game Night, if you're not watching it, you are probably seeing commercials for it while you watch other things.
Yeah, and there was no clear delineation of, okay, these are the people from the movies and these are people from TV, something like that.
Right. So, yeah.
Okay, let's go through the characters and the impressions, and let me know your grade on all these people. Okay, so we had Cecily was Sofia Vergara.
So I would say on accuracy, C- at best, but as far as fun, B+, solid B+. I want to see her doing more of Sofia Vergara. Good writing, good energy, making fun of her in a way that was not very accurate. I really liked it.
Yeah, I thought it was very, very fun also. Okay, what about Taron Killam as Christoph Waltz?
What? What are we doing? Who cares about Christoph Waltz? The impression itself seemed to be good,
Yeah.
but why, of all the people that all of the cast members of SNL could do, why are we doing Christoph Waltz? It was so odd to me. So, pass for me.
Okay. I thought it made me laugh. I chuckled. Morgan Freeman.
Great. Loved it. I thought it was really fun. Don't get to see this enough. It was probably not one of Jay Farrow's better impressions, but it was one of his fun impressions, and I thought it was fun to see him here plugging Dolphin Tale 2. I thought that was all fun.
Yeah. I feel like I would have rather seen something different from Jay Farrow. I feel like he could do so many good impressions. I feel like so many people do a Morgan Freeman impression.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Yeah.
Okay, let's go to the other side, and maybe the surprise of the night, Beck Bennett's Nick Offerman.
Very solid, very fun. Clearly, I think he only had in him the 12 words that he said as Nick Offerman. I am not surprised that we didn't go back to Beck Bennett for more lines on this, because I think he just had it in very small doses and held on to it. Very solid, really, really fun.
And was he doing Ron
Swanson?
Yeah.
He was doing a Ron Swanson impression, not a Nick Offerman impression, and that is fine by me.
Okay. Then we had Al Pacino.
Of course, fantastic.
Okay. And then here comes Kristen Wiig as Kathy Lee Gifford.
I love her Kathy Lee Gifford. I could have watched that, and it's the same joke over and over again, and there's no subtlety to it, but I just love it. I love it. I love it, and as long as it went on, it could have been her and no one else. I love her Kathy Lee Gifford impression, and this was a great use for it, and everything about it was fun. I thought it was just fantastic.
Yeah, I felt like Kathy Lee Gifford stole some of the spotlight from the other people. It was so much Kathy Lee Gifford.
Yeah, and it's exactly as it should have been. And again, I think that the Nick Offerman impression and I think the Sofia Vergara impression were better because they were limited. Kathy Lee, we could have gone on for a lot longer. It's just amazing, and that's what I want to see from Kristen Wiig. So loved having her there. And I will say, as we've talked on the show before, I have a very strong cameo policy of one cameo per episode. That does not apply to alumni. Alumnus of SNL, once you establish that you're there, I expect to see you 2 or 3 times. So you better be showing up for more stuff. So I was happy that this is how we got to see Kristen Wiig, as opposed to bringing back some old sketches that we know I'm not a fan of.
Okay. The one line that really really made me laugh was so like in the final round where they had to finish the sentence. When Al Pacino had to finish the line, frankly, my dear, I don't give a blank. He said, I don't give a prostitute my home address.
That was just great. That was very funny.
That was very, very funny. That really cracked me up. I did not see that coming.
Right, that's very fundy. Yeah,
I mean, how do they even get to that? Like, are they sitting there did they come up with the question, or is it like I don't know, what is the genesis of writing that joke?
I got to imagine it is coming up with the line first in this case, and then workshopping just 20 ideas, and then coming back with that. That's what I think. Yeah.
Very funny.
I'm noticing while we're talking in the chat room, Hunter was asking the group the question, did the audience think it was really the guy from Parks and Rec because they screamed when he came on? And I noticed the same point, that's why I'm calling it out. I think what happened is as they were going down the line, that's when Kristen Wiig came onto the stage and sat down as Kathy Lee, and the audience, the audience obviously is very far away. If you can't see it on the monitor, you don't always know. I think it's when they sort of realized that Kathy Lee Gifford was there, Kristen Wiig, and that's why that they screamed.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Who got the better end of being the civilian on Hollywood Game Night? 80 or who was on the other side? It was
Vanessa Bayer.
Vanessa
Bayer. Well, for Vanessa, it felt almost like a weird parallel to the show right now. Like, it's like she's the amateur civilian who gets no screen time with 3 celebrities. So it felt a little bit almost like cuttingly accurate to what's been going on. Yeah, it was very meta. But no one had anything particularly funny to say. Probably 80 was it, but it was great seeing Vanessa in something.
Okay. Let's take a question about Hollywood Game Night. Okay. This question says, did anyone else find Kristen Wiig ruin the Hollywood Game Night sketch? Her Kathy Lee impression wasn't that funny, and it felt like it was more forced compared to Beck Bennett or Cecily Strong's impressions, which were great.
I guess I will respectfully disagree. I think it was great, but again, I loved her doing this character in the past. So for me, it was more of a nostalgia of seeing an old character in a new environment, which I always love.
Okay, Rich, let's talk about the next pre-taped piece, which was the Charles Daniels commercial.
Yeah, I thought this was also really fun. Again, I don't think that I loved this sketch. I think that I liked it more than I loved it. And I did like the fact this was the sketch where he comes out asking for 39 cents a day for African aid. It builds very slowly until one of the poor people, which is played by Jerry Farrow, is like, you're asking for too little money. You got to ask for more. And so I liked that idea that this would have been this could happen, or this would happen on a taping like this. It built nicely. Getting to see Leslie Jones yet again in a sketch. I mean, she's already gotten more screen time this year than John Milheiser got all of season 39, and she's not even an actual featured player. So all really fun. I don't know that I loved it, though. I felt like it was good, but I don't know that I thought it was great. What did you think?
I really liked it. I wouldn't say I loved it. That's probably too strong of a word, but I thought it was really, really funny. And then at the end, Jones says, "You're gonna have to give us $200 if you want this white guy back." I thought it was very funny, and I thought it was smart also too. Especially like when with the 39 cents, everybody's talking about like, well, why not $1? I could see $1.
Right. Yeah. And I did like having Vanessa Bayer come in as the production assistant with the coffee and the change from the coffee and that whole thing. So all of that was really fun.
Yeah. So it was. I thought it was well done. I don't know again where they come up for the idea other than just like being up like in the middle of the night watching TV and seeing these commercials. But I thought it was fun.
Yeah, very fun.
All right. Now, what did they do the music here, or is this the Jan Hooks?
I think Jan Hooks came first. I believe it was right after the pre-tape.
All right, so let's talk about Jan Hooks, and then we'll get to Hozier. Of course, very sad news about Jan Hooks passing away this week, only 57 years old. And so, very, very touching the way that Saturday Night Live tributes her here. Also, I believe they switched the 10 p.m. Saturday Night Live to an episode that was more of a showcase for Jan Hooks, as opposed to doing the one every year that they do on Saturday nights.
Oh, that's nice. I didn't know that. I have it on the TV. I'll have to check it out. Yeah, I thought this was really sweet. Again, and they've done this before with other passings, they picked a very classy sketch and a very touching pre-tape from many years ago, but oddly for me, not something that really showed Jan Hooks' comedy. She wasn't particularly funny, nor was she meant to be funny. It was a Tom Schiller film. Many of his films were like this. So very respectful, very lovely, but I don't know that this is what I would have chosen to see how great Jan Hooks was on the show.
Yeah, Rich, I don't even get this this sketch with Jan Hooks and Phil Hartman. I've seen it. They've run it a couple times on like best ofs and stuff like this. But I mean, is there a joke that I didn't get about this, or was it just something on Saturday Night Live that just wasn't meant to be a joke?
No, they've done this. There's a filmmaker who I'm sure is no longer with the show named Tom Schiller who did a lot of these what we would now call digital shorts, but he really made kind of films, and they were often very sort of melancholy. And I think it did start back in the Belushi days. He had done one about Belushi being the last one alive and dancing on the grave of the other cast members, and I think it was at a time where they really did kind of fancy like, oh, we can like every once in a while do something that's a little bit more melancholy than hilarious and kind of showcase actors. Maybe similar to like we would think of like Sad Mouse from the Bruno Mars episode a few years ago. And I don't know that for me they ever worked for me. I was a huge fan of SNL back when Jan Hooks was on, but I was younger. I don't know that they ever totally worked for me. So nice to see, but kind of a weird one.
The fact that it was Phil Hartman as her co-star, and that, of course, Phil Hartman has passed away also, did that make it more sentimental?
Yes, very much so. Very, very much so, yeah.
Yeah, because ironically, that Jan Hooks dated Kevin Nealon on the show, but I always kind of felt like her and Phil Hartman were more like a couple.
Yeah, they were such a strong team, and I think it's always hard to pull sketches to show of Jan Hooks because she was often the second banana to Phil Hartman in so many great sketches. But they really, but by design, sort of showcased him more. But what a great! The two of them were so good together.
Yeah. So very, 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 very classy the way that they handled all that with Jan Hooks.
Yes.
Did you think that that it should have been more of a montage though than just letting that one piece run all the way through?
I think so. I think that the audience that didn't know Jan Hooks would have been much more appreciative of seeing her doing Kathy Lee Gifford and Sinead O'Connor and the Sweeney sisters and doing Tammy Faye Baker. It would have been like oh right, that's a monster performer from the 80s and early 90s.
Yeah, maybe it was too soon to be making people laugh about it.
Yeah.
So all right, so very nice though that they acknowledge that they're in that spot. All right, let's bring in James and talk about the music of Hozier. Rich, I know you're a big Hozier guy, right?
Hey, I got to tell you, I got on YouTube and I got on Spotify. James told us to check them out, and I did. I watched the Take Me to the church video, very melancholy and very sad. So I was happy that James gave me the recommendation. I definitely liked him more than I thought he would. And I'm interested to hear what James has to say about him. But here was my thought watching Hozier. I don't know whether Hozier is straight, whether he's gay, what his deal is, but that guy probably had more sex after Saturday Night Live than I had from 1982 to 1986, because that guy is a beast, and I can tell that he's in it. He's good looking. He's selling it. He's arty. He's got long hair. He's got the look. I'm like, oh, that guy. He's got to be a sex monster. Right?
James, how much sex did Hozier have last night?
I think he had all of it.
Oh,
I think you're right. I think he had all the sex last night. Yeah.
Maybe Pete Davidson had a little bit.
Yeah.
Okay. So what about the sex aside? What about the music of Hozier?
Well, as you know, I was very excited about this this week, and I really love the "Take Me to Church" song. I'm a big fan. The thing about the performance this week, I think, is so this song has been a huge hit about a year ago in the UK and Ireland. He's an Irish singer-songwriter, and I think maybe I built up my expectations for what the performance could be, because it's such an epic kind of song, and I was imagining like maybe a big choir or a big build to the crescendo of the song, and performance-wise it came across a little bit like a guy who's sick of playing this song because he's been at it for over a year, and it was good. I liked it. I thought that the rock band was maybe lacked a little dynamic. I thought that the song could really soar and maybe he'd do something special for Saturday Night Live. But it turns out it looks like Saturday Night Live didn't do anything special for him. If you had a look at the set design, there was just a giant pile of chairs in the background.
Yes.
I have no idea what that was supposed to be. If it was supposed to be like kind of a pub setting vibe, it seemed like he was invited to play at the pub at 2 in the afternoon before anybody got there, and they hadn't set out all the chairs yet. That was very strange. I didn't know what was going on with that.
I'll say I actually love that. I love that feeling, especially we've seen a lot of to-do and light shows and people dancing with chickens or whatever the hell's going on sometimes. I love that feel of like that bar, closing time bar feel. So yeah, that got me.
All right, what about the second Hozier?
So the second song is called Angel of Small Death and the Codeine Scene. And I don't know if the Angel of Small Death is a reference to what the French would call le petit mort, but I don't know what this song is about. But the similar sort of rootsy soul vibe. Hozier's debut album is out in North America this week, I believe, and that's pretty much exactly what you're going to get from the rest of the record. So if you're wondering, I like the hit, and I don't know what to expect from the rest of the record, this second song is a good indicator. It's pretty mid-tempo, rootsy soul. That's what you're going to get. If you liked it, then you'll enjoy the record.
Okay. So now we know about Hozier. Who's coming up next on the Jim Carrey episode?
It's Iggy Azalea.
Oh.
Frankie Grande's sister is going to come back, and maybe they could do the song that she couldn't do without her. But I'm actually surprised it took this long. Iggy Azalea's had enough hits that I thought that she would have made an appearance by now. So I'm looking forward to that.
All right. Well, thank you, James Keith, editor of Exclaim Magazine. You can follow James on Twitter at Exclaim Editor.
Yes.
There you go. James, thanks, and good luck at hockey tonight.
It's Canadian Thanksgiving, man.
Oh, I'm so sorry. Happy Canadian Thanksgiving.
Thanks very much.
Yes, well, we're very thankful for your report, James.
Thanks for having me.
All right, take care. Bye. Okay, Rich, let's get into weekend update, and a lot to get into here on the weekend update. Again, before we get into the correspondence that came in, we did have a little bit more of Michael Shea riffing a bit.
Yeah, I'm giving it a solid C. I just don't know if this is working. I thought the writing of the riff was really solid, and I just don't know. Michael's a very good stand-up comic, but it's not connecting for me energy-wise. It's still not working. So I'm giving that personally a thumbs down, but I would believe if other people disagree with me.
So what gets a C? It's the actual Weekend Update segment, or Michael Shea's riffing?
I think it's the Michael Shea's delivery of the writing, and it might not be Michael Shea's fault. It might be that they haven't found the voice for him that works at the Weekend Update desk. It's hard not to be punchy. It's hard not to be succinct and to be very sort of focused. Michael's got a much more laid back very kind of hit, which I think in stand-up works. He's a very accomplished stand-up, but I just think at the Weekend Update desk, it's just not quite working, and I think he's going to have to continue to alter and augment the way he's delivering if it's going to work. I'm nervous about that.
Okay. I did enjoy when he was talking about the thing about, if you're a gay person and you didn't want to get married, this is really screwing things up for you.
Yeah, I also felt for me, I felt that this is about a year too old. I feel like stand-up comedians started making these jokes well over a year, if not 2 years ago. Prop 8 in California, that was a staple of every feature and middle comedian in the club. So didn't feel super current for me.
Okay. So here comes first, it's Pete Davidson back at the update desk. And Rich, I have to say, I think this might have been too soon to get Pete Davidson back on update. Second time in 3 weeks. He's almost like a Jebediah Atkinson at this point.
I know, and I actually had read in the SNL subreddit that at last week's dress rehearsal he had a piece that was cut. So they're really leaning on him. I think that his personality and his charisma really connected the first time out, so they want to make it work with him again. And I'm going to be super nitpicky about this, but I guarantee whether you agree with me or not consciously, subconsciously you do. It was a great idea, except they tried to take what was clearly an old Pete Davidson piece of stand-up comedy about his chain and tie it to the BET Hip Hop Awards banning guns, and it never worked for me. It was always cute, but it was never funny because I kept waiting for the routine to come back to the BET Awards and the gun policy, and once it didn't, I was just like, oh, why don't I just YouTube search for Pete Davidson and Gold Chain and watch this routine at a stand-up comedy club instead of watching it here? So I thought that the shoehorning of it made it less good, even though in general, solid and good piece of comedy, good delivery, and some fun jokes.
Yeah, I wrote in my notes, maybe too soon to go back to the Pete Davidson well. I didn't think this was as strong as his first appearance as far as the material goes.
I definitely agree with you on that. Not nearly as good, and not as, it didn't build as well. It was more observational than sort of building to a story. So, but again, there are a lot of complete zeros at the update desk. So this was, at least to be amusing, was nice, and we didn't have to sit through a Garth and Cat reunion or some,
oh my God,
that would have killed me. So this, still in the plus column. And nice that we kept it quick because we all knew what was coming next. So
okay, Stefon shows up, and we talked about how exactly they were going to handle the business of Stefon here in this Stefon's return to the Weekend Update desk. And interestingly, Stefon enters from the right, which traditionally he would always come from the left, so he ends up coming in on the Michael Shea side.
Yes. So obviously, very much they did not want to garner too many continued Colin Jost to Seth Meyers comparisons, so they threw it to Michael Che. Although I did like that they started where really both guys it started with both guys interacting with him, which gave a nice energy. And one of my favorite lines, which was almost a throwaway, is when Stefon refers to Shea and Jost as Barack and Mitt. That made me laugh. I thought that was really funny.
Yeah. So Stefon had a couple of very funny lines, but probably the biggest laugh was Stefon pretty much breaking at the third mention of Dan Cortez.
Yeah, we could tell watching it the first time that MTV's Dan Cortez comes up clearly was added to the cue card because that alone is not a funny enough line that you would break at seeing it again. So it was obviously added the first time. Bigger laugh when it's added the second time, and then I don't know that we've ever seen maybe Spud Webb I think was once added a second time, but the fact that it was in all three just kills him, which was really funny.
Yeah. So now what happens there? We've heard before in the past that John Mulaney would put stuff in the cue cards in between dress rehearsal, but I know he has his show on Fox. Is he in the mix? Is he emailing stuff to people?
Yeah, no, he was listed as a writer at the end. He got an additional writing credit. Him and John Solomon were back. And I actually assumed that once we saw the Herb Welch sketch early on, my suspicion is that Mulaney was actually there in person for the week writing with them. And I would absolutely expect that he was writing, the Stefon and changing the cue cards as he always does. Very much so. There was one line, the line itself, the Stefon line, that wasn't necessarily hilarious, but Bill Hader's look as he's talking about the place has got the this, and he says, and a doorman who always high fives children of divorce, and Bill Hader gives the camera a look of like, what? So you could tell that was clearly added by Mulaney at the last minute. So that was all really fun.
Now, I don't want to sound ungrateful for John Mulaney's contributions to Saturday Night Live, but doesn't John Mulaney have his own problems right now?
This was probably a nice break from his problems, like a chance to you know what, I'm not doing so well in college, so let me go back and hang out at my old high school where I was the prom king and sort of, swing my dick around for a little bit and be the king for a little bit before going back to college, which is not going really well.
Yeah. I also like Stefon's line that one of the clubs was located where Donald Trump Jr.'s chin should have been.
That was very funny. The other thing I liked in the list of things at the club was, and the TV channel at a hotel that's about the hotel. It was very funny.
Yeah. Okay. So let's take a comment from you guys about Weekend Update. Somebody who was not happy, and it's Carlos V. 1031. Do you think that the reason Pete Davidson was all over this episode because Bill Hader kind of got him his job on SNL, or was this SNL's way of trying to get fans sick of him without benching him? Did Bill Hader get Pete Davidson his job?
I've never heard that, if that's true. I definitely don't know. That's a good question.
I'll have to look into that. But I don't think that they're trying to get people sick of him.
Yeah, I'm thinking not. Yeah, that's not a usual SNL style. That's an odd business model for SNL if it was true.
Okay. Let's take another one. This is from Lauren, who says, there was a really weird flow to Weekend Update jokes. The delivery and timing were way off, causing the punchlines to be lost. Weekend Update needs a major overhaul. Rich, do you subscribe to this? Does Weekend Update need a major reconstruction?
I would say no, but I would say we do need a good Jiffy Lube 27-point inspection. I think we need an oil change. I think we need to look at the gas. I think, yeah, I agree in the spirit, although I wouldn't say as much as you. The current lineup, the two guys, I don't know that they're vibing together, and I don't know. Something probably needs to be adjusted.
Yeah. Do we need a human defibrillator?
I think that might be a way. Get two midgets going, because that might help, yes.
Okay, let's do one more about Weekend Update, and this one is from the great Real BG Low, who says, after Rob predicted correctly that we'd see little to no Pete Davidson last week, he was in almost every sketch this week. In addition, Keenan was nowhere to be seen in this episode. We'd love to hear both of your comments on these. All right, Rich, so you touched on both of these things. Lack of Pete Davidson, lack of Keenan, tons of Pete Davidson. Also, Keenan did the promos with Bill Hader during the week. Is there any connection to that? Where do they throw you a bone if you're not going to be in the episode so much? Do they let you do the promo?
Well, it's interesting. I don't know, but I do remember specifically that Kate McKinnon did a couple of the promos with Chris Pratt and then was MIA in that episode. So maybe, although they shoot them early enough in the week, I think that they don't really know what the lineup's going to be. But super strange about Keenan, A, because Keenan was in like everything in the first 2 weeks, and B, Keenan and Bill Hader did a lot of stuff together on SNL, and they seem to be friends or friendly enough. I've never heard anything ill about the two of them. I mean, but it's Lindsey Buckingham, and what up with that? I mean, they've got a real history together of a lot of fun stuff. So it was very surprising in an alumni episode that a contemporary of the alumni was completely MIA. Very strange.
Yeah. Interesting. And in one of the promos for this week, they talked about the, hey, remember when What Up With That, when I didn't used to let you talk, and like Keenan like talked over him in the whole promo. I said, oh my God, What Up With That is coming back.
Oh, we're saving that for the season finale. I'm telling you, it's going to be a 26-minute What Up With That, and they're going to carry him off. And the last thing is going to be Bill Hader returning as Lindsey Buckingham to actually speak, which will give Keenan's character a heart attack and die, and that will be the end of Kenan Thompson on the show.
By the way, I looked this up real quick. So Taron Killam did the promos with Sarah Silverman. I don't remember if he had a ton of business or not to do in last week's show without just off the top of my head.
I don't remember either, but that's okay. Yeah.
Okay. We'll watch for the Jim Carrey episode coming up. All right. So then we end up with our first sketch after Update. And again, it's getting late because we did so many other things in the show. But we had our puppetry class too. And again, as we mentioned earlier in the show, that Howard Stern started off and told Bill Hader. First, he told Bill Hader he's one of the top 5 SNL cast members of all time. I don't know if that's in if he did a proper accounting of that beforehand. But that being said, he said this was the best SNL sketch of all time, Puppetry Class 1.
Well, I would agree, as you and I have discussed many times. I think that the Puppetry Class 1 was the best sketch of all of season 39, and it was, I think, in the first or the second episode of the year.
Premiere, yeah.
Yeah, with blanking on his name from Family Guy. Seth MacFarlane, yeah. So I was very nervous. I didn't want them to bring this back. I thought that was such a great sketch. Why fuck with such a great sketch? Oh, sorry. Why mess with such a great sketch? But I actually was glad that they did, because even if this wasn't nearly as funny as the first one, it was still really funny, and there were still some really fun jokes in it. So a lot to like about this sketch. Odd again that the original sketch, other than Seth MacFarlane, was with Vanessa Bayer and Kenan Thompson, both people still on the show, and instead we decided to do Bobby Moynihan and Cecily Strong. So an odd lineup change there, which I don't know what the story was there, but overall really fun. I thought this was fun yet again.
Yeah, some very funny jokes for Anthony Peter Coleman. He when the instructor tells him that it should be. You need to have a joke.
Yeah.
Here's a joke. God.
I like when he's talking about emoji. He goes, here's my emoji. Palm tree, flamethrower, baby, flamethrower, mosquito, Anthony! So everything. And then Bill Hader smoking and the puppet having the smoke come out of his mouth. It was all. So again, if the first sketch was an A, this was a B+, so obviously a step down, but any B+ sketch on SNL is a win. So clearly put this in the win column.
And the throw to the puppets reenacting the scene from Granada, stuffing in the air. I thought that was very, very funny.
Yeah.
Very, very funny. Washington.
Yeah.
Yeah, and how do you get the nightmares to stop, Rich?
Yeah, exactly. Very good. All very good.
All right, so Anna Jose on Twitter forwards us a tweet from John Mulaney today, who said that he tweeted out that he said he sent to Rob Klein last night, apologies for misspelling Cortez. They didn't tell Bill about any of it before air. So he actually tweeted what he texted, and he said in his tweet that you could see, his Twitter is at Mulaney. He says, cut straw you find in a bodega bag and add a doorman who always high-fives children of divorce. Add Dan Cortez to each run, please. So Dan Cortez is at every club. Tell Bill last minute.
That's very funny. So obviously, John was not and done remotely. Not what I guessed, but still good to hear that it was Mulaney's touch to it all.
Yes. Okay. So then let's talk about Inside SoCal.
Oh boy. Let me again. Oh boy. I don't know why we're doing this again. Again, this happened. I don't know who is the demo for this. I don't know. I pass. I have nothing more to say.
Yeah. Again, that they. I was at least like I guess like this is humorous, but I'm not laughing when these things are on.
It was painful on every level.
Yeah, I mean, when you have talented people and they're making something that if you were to watch it, you would think was bad. You know, it's like I don't know if that's the best use of these people's talent to do something that looks very amateurish. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I know they're going for something. I feel like it's the YouTube generation, but I don't even think the YouTube audience would be enjoying this. It's just, such a pass. And good for them for going for something, but we already did this once and it didn't work, so I don't know. Chris in the chat room saying I'm the demo, he thought it was all right. But, you know, if you're saying, Chris, that it was all right, that is not exactly a ringing endorsement.
Yeah, I did like Kate McKinnon
yes.
in the sketch. She was
that was the one point that was cute, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So here, let's take one question about Inside SoCal, and this is from in the chat. This is from the great Real BG Low, and he says, "How many more times is it going to take before someone realizes that these Good Neighbor sketches just aren't working? I think it's time for Kyle Mooney and company to try taking a different direction because what they've been doing clearly isn't working."
Well, I would disagree with that. I think that they are hit and miss. I think to the comment, they have been lately more missed than they've been hit. But I think they have done some really good stuff. I think even the thing with Sarah Silverman was good. I think last year the thing they did with Vanessa Bayer and Kyle Mooney, and the romance thing was very good. I think the original Miley Cyrus thing was very funny. So they've had some success, and so I want them to keep trying. And again, I don't mind a miss at 12:45 a.m. I'd rather see someone go for something big and fail than pull out, a sketch that we've seen 85 times and dress it up for number 86. So, but this one clearly goes in the miss column for me.
Okay, and then our final sketch of the show was the Cat in the Hat.
I'm going out on a limb. I loved this. I thought it was... Love is probably a strong word, but I'm saying solid B+ on this. I didn't see the joke coming. I didn't see the turn that he used to date the mom. I thought everybody in this was fun. The length of it was just right. It's what I want to see at 12:50 a.m. The thing, too, coming in later and the sort of weirdness between them was great. So I liked it. It was weird, it was fun, it was silly, fun production value, so a win for me.
Yeah, I thought it was pretty fun also once it took that turn of that the mom used to date the Cat in the Hat.
Yeah, and that's what I'm looking for, especially in a 12:50 sketch, is me going, what? Where is this going? And then being really pleasantly surprised.
Yeah, so that was good. What did you think about Jonathan?
Loved it. I thought it was all very funny, yeah.
Now, is that a real thing?
Oh, I couldn't even tell you. I thought the whole... I think Thing 2 is a thing. That looked very familiar to me. I am not super current on my Dr. Seuss. I'm a little geiseled out at 46 with no kids, but I think that was a callback. I think that was a fun thing.
Okay. All right. So, Rich, then the one last part of the show that you are the ultimate expert, the ultimate authority on, we have our goodbyes with Bill Hader.
Yeah, very short. I didn't go back to watch them on Hulu yet, but I will. So at least on the Los Angeles feed, they were cut very short. Bill Hader, very legitimately emotional and really getting choked up about it, and I think was really touched by being back. Great energy. Love seeing Kristen Wiig. I really feel like they've got such a brother-sister relationship. It's always super sweet to see. So a really nice out to a really fun show.
Okay. So, Rich, upcoming, Jim Carrey.
Yes, we haven't seen him since, I think, season 36, so it's been a couple of years. Be interesting to see him back.
Now, with the Jim Carrey show, that's what, the 27th, so they're just taking 1 week off?
Yeah, I'm looking right now. Yes, they're to the 25th, I guess. So, yeah, they're only taking 1 week off.
That feels like an odd scheduling to me.
Yes, I was surprised as well. I was sure we weren't going to see something to November because I thought, and I'm looking at a calendar as we spoke, I would have thought we would have done 1st, 8th, and 15th and then be off for a couple of weeks for the Thanksgiving break. So I have no idea what our breakdown is going to be.
And so is Jim Carrey, this is only his second time, has he hosted before?
Sorry, I was actually asking someone who might know about the breakdown of this. He has hosted. You know what? I don't know. I just had that up and I closed it. Unfortunately. Wait. Okay. So let's see. He hosted here. He hosted in season 36. I think this is his third time hosting.
Third time. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I was thinking about this. I was like, oh, he must have hosted once in the 90s. But then I'm like, well, they wouldn't have had him on to host at the same time that he was doing In Living Color.
Yeah, he hosted in May of '96.
Okay.
And then came back again just 4 years ago. So yeah.
Okay. So let's go ahead and take one question here. This is from Michael J, who said over under 1.5 Jeff Daniels cameos for the Jim Carrey SNL.
I'm gonna say 0. I know why he's saying it, but I'm gonna guess 0 Jeff Daniels cameo. I don't know that. I will be interested to see.
Okay. We will see. Rich, are you a Dumb and Dumber guy?
I am very much not a Dumb and Dumber guy.
Whoa.
Yeah. It's not my taste, not my style. I get why people like it, but I could pass.
Yes. Do you think, what is it, Dumb and Dumberer? Is that what it, or Dumb and Dumber 2?
I think it's Dumb and Dumberer, I think is what they're calling it.
Yeah. What was the one where it was the fake Jim Carrey and Jeff Daniels?
I can't remember. I know what you're talking about, and I can't remember.
Yeah. Okay.
While we're talking, I just got a little intel from one of our listeners.
All right, this just in.
So we're gonna have a show on the 25th, and then another show on November 1st, and then repeat on November 8th.
Okay. Do we have any idea of who the November 1st host will be?
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
So,
interesting.
But at least we know what our schedule is looking like. Thank you, Lauren, for giving me that information on the side.
Thank you, Lauren.
Yeah.
Okay, Rich. Well, all right. I guess it's that time where we're so, Rich. Again, great job again this week.
Hey, Rob, I want to thank you. I want to thank James Keast for showing up. I want to thank Scott Pierre for moderating. I want to thank Trevor in the chat room, my wife, my dogs Pete and Lexi for not barking in the middle of us talking about the Stefon bit. I had a great night tonight, Rob. Thank you so much.
Yeah, Rich, thank you again for being on top of everything and being so on point. And, thanks for just being here every week and being so good to people on Twitter. I've seen you writing back to so many commenters on the Twitter.
I love it. I love that we're talking on Twitter. I love that we're talking on the comment section. Let's keep it going. 90 minutes a week is not enough to talk about SNL.
All right, well, you can follow Rich on Twitter. He's at Rich Tack. I'm at Rob Cesternino. Make sure you are subscribed to the SNL podcast in iTunes, or you can just go ahead and help us out by leaving us some comments and feedback ratings over at postshowrecaps.com/SNL iTunes. Helps more and more people find the show. All right, Rich, so we will be back in 2 weeks to talk about Jim Carrey. Have a great night, everybody, and we'll talk to you again soon.
Bye-bye.